Welcome to another Athlete Vanity interview. I'm your host, Jessica Black, and I'm here with a very special guest. She's a host, an analyst, and reporter for CBS. She's also been named on the 30 Under 30 list in 2023. She's a huge Knicks fan and someone I personally love to get style inspo from because her style is unmatched. I'm so excited to talk to the one and only Ashley Nicole Moss. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that amazing introduction as well.
And I was writing it down. I was like, I hope she likes it.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you.
Of course. So let's go ahead and hop right in. You've built an incredible career so far in sports journalism, from college reporting to now being like a household name. What first sparked your passion for covering sports?
My dad, growing up in New York, basketball was such a huge part of my life. My dad played at Chelsea Piers and West Fourth. So my introduction to basketball was actually park culture. So that's why some of the things that, guys warming up with shirts off and, some of the things that kind of upset some of the people in the media space don't bother me because that's how I grew up around basketball. So that was my introduction to it. And I would always get into debates with guys, at lunch or homeroom, whatever the case may be. And I really developed a passion for like talking about sports, debating sports. And then around high schools, when I really started taking time to understand the logistics of sports and really understand what I was watching instead of just watching it from a entertainment standpoint. And it kind of just all came into fruition and kind of all just molded into, I really want to do this. And I've always felt very comfortable in front of a camera. Behind closed doors, I'm a lot more shy and reserved. So it was kind of like a way for my alter ego to exist in the world, if you will.
I love that. I feel like sometimes this may be the opposite. You're just kind of like extroverted when you love to talk about sports and be out there with your opinions. But I hear you on the introvert behind closed doors, but like your alter ego, that's super cool. So when many see like your success from the outside, they don't usually see what it takes on the back end and see the resilience side of it. Was there ever like a moment in your career where you were tested and you had to push through?
Always. I feel like they're always tested. The tests just change, right? They change what they look like. The intensity may change. But I feel like for me, like most college students, you think when you graduate, you do really well. Like I graduated top of my class. That will open so many doors and like all these big networks will be waiting for you when you graduate. It's not how it happened. And that was like a reality check. It kind of slapped me in the face. And I did a bunch of little things. And I'll never forget my first internship was at the CW and I was on camera. And when that internship ended, it turned into a job. So when the whole thing ended, the job and the internship, and I wasn't immediately in my next TV job, I kind of was like, all right, well, it's the real world. Like, I want money to do things and I don't have a job. So for me, I went and got a job at an optical and I was working there part-time. And I was also working at the radio station part-time. And I was going back and forth 5 days a week. And I feel like for me, that was my biggest test because there were a lot of times when I would almost duck behind the counter if I saw like a young person walking in because I didn't want that to be someone I went to college with. And they're like, why aren't you on TV? Why are you working at an optical? And for me, that was probably my biggest test because going back and forth was definitely exhausting. I worked long hours. I think I was working from 8 a.m. in the morning to 8 p.m. at night, 5 days a week. And it was exhausting and it was a lot. And I think that for me was my biggest test where I could have just said, you know what, it's not for me, or just stayed the course and see what was on the other side.
Oh, that's super cool. I can definitely resonate with the idea of like not wanting people to see you when you're not there yet, but it's all a part of kind of like the journey. And, I love that aspect of things. Being from New York, do you think that built who you are, just being where you're from, like being a New Yorker? How did where you grew up kind of integrate to how you've applied yourself in your career? Do you feel like it shaped you?
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in New York. My parents grew up in New York, so I was raised by true New Yorkers. New York teaches you, there's a sense of it that kind of makes you grow up a little bit faster than maybe you want to. But I think it also instills in you a type of ambition and determination that you can't get anywhere else in the country. Growing up in New York, you can see, you see those buildings, you see those skyscrapers, you see the billboards, and it kind of makes you want to hustle if that's what you want to obtain, right? New York's filled with hustlers, and it's people moving and doing things. And I believe that seeing that and seeing my parents do it, just instilled in me a no quit mentality. And New Yorkers are very hard headed. We can be rough around the edges. We can not take no for an answer. We're very arrogant in a sense, but I think it's just the right amount that makes us so successful. And it makes us, when our backs are against the walls, it's like, all right, y'all want to go? We're going to go. And I think that that's something you can't get anywhere else in the world, honestly. And I think it really is engraved so deeply in me. And, it gives you some spice, it gives you some flair that you can't get anywhere else as
For
well.
sure.
So,
Yeah, I'm from LA originally, but I moved to New York for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, they weren't lying. These
yeah.
people really, they get to it. They really get to it. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to get with it. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get that for sure. You've had the opportunity to interview some of the biggest names in the game, which is super cool. What's
Mhm.
your approach to bringing out more of a human side to these athletes? Like, do you have a method, to your ways?
I honestly just approach athletes as people. I think that so much of the time we get so caught up in the stat lines and the numbers and the standings, and you forget that at the end of the day, these are just people who have hobbies, they have likes, they have dislikes. Like, they just kind of want to be spoken to as people and not commodities. And one thing I've always approached my career, the mentality I've always approached my career with is athlete second, human first. And it's really helped me not only just develop relationships outside of what I do with these guys, but also just have interviews that peel back their layers where they feel comfortable, like, okay, I can say this and it's not because she's trying to trap me into a soundbite. I can say this because she's genuinely interested about who I am and what I do and where I come from. And there are a lot of similarities, with some of these guys. A lot of them grew up in inner cities or big cities, and that's similar to my upbringing. So there's a level of understanding and respect there. But I also just feel like people like to talk about themselves. I know people will be like, "No, I don't." People do, and like if you approach them with in a space where it's safe to do that, they'll start to just kind of the
Open up.
floodgates will open and they'll just open up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Was there ever an interview or a conversation that had a big impact on you? Anything that you took away and you were like, wow, like that kind of changed my life a little bit?
Let me think. That's a great question. Um, Interviewing Penny Hardaway at Memphis was very cool. He's a player who I have so much respect for, just for what he built also outside of his career. And getting to interview, Amani Bates and Jalen Duren before they were in the NBA was very cool. Um, I will say I got to interview Jalen Rose at his JRLA Academy in Detroit, which is where he's from. And it was really cool to see someone of that magnitude give back to the city that gave him so much, and to see how loved he was in the city, and to see how loved he was by his students, and to just see how it's bigger than basketball. But basketball can take you so many places if you do it right and you maneuver right through it. That was something that really opened my eyes, because I said, I can do so much more than just interview people and talk about sports. Is such a huge impact that this career, this life, can have on other people. And it kind of changed the way I started maneuvering through the space.
That sounds cool. Like
Yeah.
I think sometimes you talk to people and you just realize that they have lives outside of just being like an athlete, and they're super down
Who
to earth,
knew?
and yeah, they're cool. Like I totally get that. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
having that situation with you too. Like
Oh.
yeah, it's just people talking to each other, which is really cool. Um Now this is something like for me personally, I really want to get your opinion on, because working in a male dominated industry, I do feel like you come up against challenges that other people just don't understand. And you're somebody that I feel like always puts your opinions and takes out there with such confidence. And I feel like other girls probably want to know, how do you get your opinions and takes out there with that confident tone, like when you're the only woman in the room? Do you have any advice on that kind of
Well,
front?
you always have to be prepared, right?
Yeah.
So in this industry, it's opinion based a lot of the time. It's opinion based mixed with facts, or at least it should
Hmm.
be. So when you're talking about stats and numbers, you can't really argue that because it's concrete, it's in black and white. But when you're talking about aspects in the industry that are based in opinion, you have to be confident in your opinion, but you also have to be confident in your opinion not being received well. And that's going to
Hmm.
happen in an industry that's opinion based or has an opinion based aspect to it, right? Everyone has an opinion. Everyone thinks their opinion is right. Everyone thinks their opinion is gospel. The biggest thing you need to know how to do and be comfortable doing is defending your opinion. Not defending whether it's right, whether it's wrong, because you'll never get everyone to agree. But you need to back up why this is your opinion and why you believe your opinion is right. You also just have to have the confidence in yourself that just because your opinion is not well received doesn't mean it's a bad opinion, doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's you're bad at your job. I had a crazy take when the Luca trade went down that coming out of my mouth, it sounded like, okay, that's not that bad. I had a whirlwind 48 hours. I just sidelined my first game. I was running on no sleep. And I gave this opinion. And in hindsight, it was horrible. Now there's one or two things you can do. You can like cry about it and think like, I'm never going to get another opportunity to give my opinion. I'm horrible at my job. Or you can do what I did and be like, yeah, in hindsight, that wasn't that great. But there's a lot going on and I'm trying to catch up like the rest of you guys. Sometimes you just got to own it. And that's my biggest thing. Just own it. Whether you're owning it wasn't a great opinion or you're owning like, no, this is my opinion. I'm going to tell you why I feel this way.
I like that. Just own it. Yeah, for sure. And everybody has bad takes. Like we see it.
Everybody
Yeah,
has bad
everybody has
days.
them. Like, yeah,
Yes.
so everybody does. Was there any like a woman in media that inspired you when you were first got started? Anybody that you looked at and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna try to pay, try to copy maybe something that they're doing.
I took a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just women. I took Doris Burke's analytical mind. I think she's a brilliant, brilliant person, not just woman, person. Her
Mhm.
basketball mind is phenomenal. Erin Andrews used to cover and still does a lot of Cowboy games. So watching her and especially in her sit down interviews, the way she's been able to kind of peel back the layers of guys like Aaron Rodgers or Tony Romo when he was playing, I always found inspiration from. It was just they were very relaxed with her, very kind of chilled, and something that I took pieces of that. Going back to my big brother, Jalen Rose, watching him, the way he would insert cultural references into his takes. So he was always referencing movies or rap songs and things like that, that made it feel like you were just talking sports with like your homie. I took pieces of that. There are so many people that I took pieces of. I remember when Carrie Champion was on First Take, the way that she would, even when it was taboo for women to give their opinion, she was like, nah, this is what I have to say, and I'm going to say it, and then we can move on. All of those things I kind of took pieces of and applied to my own style and kind of put my own swag on it. And I feel like there's a little bit of me, a little bit of me has a little bit of them in some aspects.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I want to pivot just a little bit. We're going to
Yeah.
pivot to kind of like beauty, fashion, style, that kind of stuff. So um, you definitely effortlessly, by the way, balance between your sports coverage, beauty, fashion, lifestyle content. How do you think that those worlds like overlap? And how does that come together to become your brand?
They didn't always overlap, and I used to get a lot of flack for it.
Really?
Oh yeah, I remember. I come from a modeling commercial type of background, especially in my early 20s. I was doing like a lot of photo shoots and things like that. So my Instagram looked very model y. And while I was pursuing sports journalism, it was still kind of heavily that. Now it's a more even balance, but this is before all of this kind of merging happened. This was, you were seeing the men do it. The men have been at Fashion Week and doing stuff like that for as long as I can remember. But the women in this space, outside of like Serena and like those huge names, it wasn't like it is now where you see Angel Reese and she's, wearing this designer and the tunnel and that. It was almost taboo for women, especially in my position, to be anything other than what they were doing for work. And I used to get a lot of flack for it, that I was bad for the industry, that I was setting women back, that, you know, the way that I dressed wasn't good for the advancement of women, and the way that my Instagram, and so it was drastically different. And for me, that's always been my life. I've always been interested in sports. I've always been interested in fashion. I mean, I grew up in one of the fashion capitals of the world. It was in me before I was, you know, I could even remember just seeing people walk the streets of New York and taking inspiration. And beauty, I was always playing with makeup and dyeing my hair out of a box, and my mom being like, "What did you do?" And you know, I remember one time I did the cat scratches in my eye, and I tried to dye my hair black because Rihanna did it. And like, I mean, the list goes on and on. So that's always been part of who I am as a person. And it wasn't until I got in the sports industry years ago where it was kind of looked at like, what is she doing? Like, is she an influencer or is she a journalist? Like, you can't be both. And it's just funny how things come full circle. But I never let it kind of throw me off my game. I'm like, I could be multiple things at multiple times, and that's what I'm going to do. So.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. You're definitely very well rounded, and I guess you could say you're ahead of the curve on that one for sure.
I feel like from the media standpoint, maybe, yeah, the athletes have been doing it, but from my standpoint, for sure.
Okay. So if you could build a dream starting five just based on style, which players would you choose?
I mean, Rihanna, the GOAT. Come on. I'm gonna go rest in peace, Aaliyah.
Yeah.
Love her style. Think she is the blueprint. Who else? I actually really rock with Hailey Bieber's style. I think it's very cool. It's very chill, very understated. Like me, you don't see her in like a lot of color. Dua Lipa, I rock with her heavy. I like her style as well. Just like me, she's not a big color girl. I'm somebody who really, it's black, creams, like an occasional red, white, gray, stuff like that. And let's see, who else can I put in that mix? I rock with Lori Harvey's style as well. It's kind of similar to Hailey Bieber, in a sense, but like me, she's somebody who her abs are her best asset, and she's always in a crop
Are
top.
you a Pilates girly, or?
I'm a Pilates girl, just like, it's so funny. I'm a Pilates girl like Lori. We share the same birthday, so I feel like she's kind of like my twin flame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put Lori Harvey in there as well.
Okay. When is your birthday?
I'm January 13th, so I'm Capricorn.
I'm January 10th.
Oh, yeah. Capricorn gang. I respect it. Yes. Well, the best are the goats.
We have that in common, but I got to tell you, I did one Pilates class and I was like, you know what? This may not be for
me. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
For sure. So that's a really good starting five, by the way. How do you unwind and take care of yourself when you're not working?
Any routine? Anything that's not related to what I do. So like, I'm somebody who, if I don't have to, I try not to, it's hard for me to not watch basketball and not talk about sports because I actually enjoy it. But I try to limit like social media when I don't have to be on it. It's hard during the week because like I feel like posting and tweeting is such a huge part of like what we do now. And I also enjoy connecting maybe a little bit too much with like people who follow me and are interested in my content. I want them to feel like they're part of the conversations. I feel like fans drive this industry, and I've never really understood the separation, or why we put so much emphasis in the separation between like media and the fans. Yeah. I also just like enjoying Miami. I go outside. I'm a big reader. I love a good restaurant. And I think one thing I reap the benefits of is none of my friends know anything about sports. My best friend, Anna, one of my best friends, like she knows like 5 basketball players. And outside of that, she's like, yeah, I don't know who that is. And I love that because it's like, we don't have to talk about sports because she won't know what I'm talking about anyway. She knows like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and one other player. And she's like, outside of that, I don't know any of these guys. So that's enjoyable to me. So just having that balance, I feel like kind of keeps me sane.
Okay. And so I could go right out there and buy it. What's your go-to beauty product that you cannot live without?
Oh,
I must know.
I'm a big skincare girly. So for me,
we can tell.
I am not like, I love makeup, but unless I'm on TV or I'm doing like an interview or something, like right now it's concealer and blush and a little bit of bronzer on my eyes and gloss. Like, I'm not somebody who like full face it all the time. I don't even wear fake lashes, don't know how to put them on. Never learned, never cared to
Yeah.
learn. For me though, I'm a skincare junkie. So Tatcha is one of my favorite brands. Skin FX, swear by their products.
Mm.
Laneige, swear by their products. Dr. Jart, swear by his products or her. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but whatever. Masks, serums, under eye potions. I have so many different sleeping masks depending on the day. Like some are thick, some are watery, some are jelly. I love Korean skincare. I just bought some. I think the brand is Coast X. I could be getting it wrong,
Kozak,
but
yeah.
it's basically like
The snail mucin.
mucin that you
Yeah.
put under your eye.
Mm.
Swear, like I'm skincare. I will try any and everything and kind of find my formula, and I think I found it. And also, like, switch up your products, switch up your routine. And also, this people think I'm crazy when I say this, but go a couple of days throughout the month and don't put anything on your face. Like, just wash your face, no lotions, nothing, and let your face naturally like do what it does, and that will make a huge difference in your skin as well.
I mean, that has to work because that's essentially what guys do. They just use water. They do
Yeah,
nothing else.
disgusting.
One type of moisturizer, one type
Yeah,
of
it's
thing. Like,
actually
yeah,
very
no,
concerning. Yeah. Uh-huh.
very concerning, but it works for them 100%. So I guess I want to make sure that how much time do you have left? Just because I don't want
Like
to.
15 minutes.
You said 15? Okay, cool. Okay, so moving into some pop culture, a little bit of fun. Why do you think tunnel fit culture is growing so much? Because I'm trying to make this a thing for soccer. I'm a soccer girly, so that's what I
Mhm.
cover. And I'm like, tunnel fits, guys. It's the new thing. It's the thing you need to be doing. Why do you think it's growing so much? Why is there so much appeal about watching somebody walk in before the game
Mhm.
with a cool fit?
I think for the men, it's always existed, right? And I
Hmm.
think that brands more than ever before are realizing that just like, influencers and socialites and celebrities kind of drive what's cool and what's not for a certain demo, for another demographic, it's athletes. And when you talk about basketball specifically, leagues are 75% black, on both respective the WNBA and the NBA. And if you wanted to reach the cool demo, everyone talks about how black culture drives everything, and that's very true. Once the black community decides something is cool, something is hip, then you start seeing it mass produce and it becomes a thing, whether it's logo, whether it's style, whether it's film references, whatever. And I think that brands are realizing that by putting your best fits or helping athletes get access to certain brands, and those brands being front and center when the demographic that maybe you have failed to reach, is now like, oh, that jacket is fly. Like, where's that from? Or it's the same reason like brands back in the day like Fubu and Supreme and even Tommy Hilfiger during his hip hop era, once the black community started wearing it and once the black community started embracing it, it just took on a different meaning of cool. And I think brands want to tap into that meaning of cool. And what better way to do that than to put it on athletes who drive a lot of what's cool? And I think that's why you're seeing it more, especially with the women.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's just exploded to the
Yeah,
stage
I love
where
it.
it's this new season of NWSL. You see that the media teams and the social media people are putting a lot more emphasis on them wearing stuff when they come inside, and I'm like, yes, this is it. This is where we're going. So, and basketball definitely started it because it's a
Yeah.
trailblazing sport. But if you had to pick one Knicks legend to have
Mm.
dinner with, pick the brain of, you know, have a little appetizer and a little drink, who would you
Hmm.
choose?
Okay, so he's married, so let's just pretend
Yeah,
he's
this is
not.
not a spicy
Pretend he's
question.
not. Alan Houston easily because I was in love with him. Alan Houston and he is still fine. Like, I have seen him at multiple Knicks games, and I'm like, how are you still this good looking?
Yeah.
I would just want to have dinner with him. We don't even need to talk about basketball. I just want to talk to him. But I'd probably pick his brain about like the '90s Knicks and stuff like that. But I honestly just want to look at him. If I couldn't get him, then Carmelo. Carmelo would be fun to hang out with. I've met Melo a bunch of times, and he's always a good time and a good person to just kind of chill and be around. He's
Yeah.
a funny guy. But yeah, Allen Houston, Fox, Allen Houston, Grant Hill, they don't age
Yes.
like the old dudes anymore. They're very well preserved. So
Absolutely. And I'd never seen him outside of like just watching him on TV, but I saw Derek Fisher in real life. He smelled good and he looked
does
good,
he? I've
girl.
never met Derek Fisher.
Yeah, he looked good and he smelled good, girl. He walked right past me and I was like, you know what?
I love
That's
that.
on period. You were good. I didn't even know you had it like that, but
Yeah, that's good to know. I'll keep my
yeah.
nose open next time if I'm ever in his presence.
Oh yeah, 100%. So just to wrap things up, you've accomplished so much already. But what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What are you looking forward to?
I've always wanted to expand in different arenas and avenues, right? For me, I love sports. This is my foundation. And I want to continue growing at it and getting better at it. And, there's a new wave of players that come in every season, and it just makes the league exciting again, and it makes it new storylines, and it just gives you new things to talk about. I know people will be like, there's nothing to talk about. There's plenty. We just keep rehashing the same conversations, but that's a different
Yeah.
conversation. But I've always looked at myself as somebody who couldn't be put into a box. And I think that we have seen men pivot in so many different directions. You see Michael Strahan, he does Good Morning America. He does Fox on Sunday. He has a clothing line. We see Nate Burleson doing the same thing. We've seen Stephen A. Smith doing it. And we've never really seen women do it. I know Erin Andrews at one point was hosting Dancing with the Stars, and that's probably the only person I can really think of that has pivoted into an arena that wasn't sports related. And for me, I've always wanted to get into entertainment. I've always wanted to get into beauty and fashion. Those are things that I'm passionate about,
Yeah.
specifically beauty and fashion. And, I feel like sports can be that foundation that opens up other doors for me. And I would just encourage women to not put yourself in a box. The person who I want to kind of emulate my entire business model after is Rihanna. I mean, you saw what she did with her music career, a phenomenal, successful career. And then she said, you know what? Let's start pivoting in other directions. And now we're begging for new music because she's doing everything but that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the way that I envision my career is I'm so multidimensional, and I've always led with that, that I'd be doing my career an injustice if it wasn't like a reflection of who I am. So for me, it's, having conversations now with, entertainment industries and shows and kind of talking to some people when it comes to getting, beauty things in the works and stuff like that, because, sports can sometimes be so male dominated, like you
Yeah.
said, that I think sometimes my fan base can be so male dominated.
Hmm.
I want to give back to the girls, and I want to do stuff just for the women and stuff that they can celebrate and make them feel good and make them feel beautiful and powerful. And that's really the direction that I'm kind of like heading in at this stage of my career and my life now.
Well, I'm thinking that the girlies are really going to appreciate this interview and all the tidbits and
No.
little sound bites that you gave to us today. And I really appreciate you coming by and just speaking with me for the 20 and 30 minutes that we had. And I really enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, I wish you luck in all your future endeavors. And I'm sure we'll see you do amazing, amazing things.
Thank you, you too. And I really appreciate the conversation. It's nice to not just talk about sports all the time. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again.
Thank you.